pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God. And why am I signed in here as me?
I see, could you have joined?
Yeah.
No. I've seen those finals lately, the last couple of meetings, it
That's-
automatically pops up.
That's what I'm saying, that's me.
I know, but I love it.
So I need a motion to move docket dash 207.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Now we're gonna move into the policy meeting. Again with policy 1340, which is, too many papers on me. Community use of facilities. Attorneys deem this, sufficient as written, so it'll just be reaffirmed. Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any questions on that policy? Policy 2150, which is staff recruiting and hiring for certificated positions, also found to be legally sufficient as written. Does anybody have any questions on that? Policy 3375 and the administrative regulations, revenue and cash management. You saw that there were a few things that the attorneys recommended. Does anyone have any questions and or concerns about the recommendations and revisions that the attorneys gave us? It's really just two wording spots. No, I just like to see everybody's head
Right.
so that I know that I don't want to move on without.
I have a big head.
No, it's not your fault. It just, I like to make sure I'm acknowledging it, that everybody is okay.
I guess we'll have to update the titles. It's,
It was the title in those two sentences that had to be changed, yeah. We used to have a deputy superintendent, now it's,
Yeah.
the words are different.
Okay.
Policy 3380 is the fund balance policy. Has everybody read and understands the changes that are suggested? And does anybody have any questions on those changes? You can see that they also gave us a clean copy. It's really just crossing out a few lines. Let me see.
Good.
Good. Policy 5165, this was the one you had a question on, Joe, before.
Yes.
This is the policy and the administrative regs for interpreters. This is for hearing impaired parents or guardians. This is not for students. So the question that you had was in regards to students, and that had was not in regards to that. On this one, the one change that I would make, only because it's a grammatical issue, spelling issue, is where it says parent teach conferences, it should say parent teacher conferences. Does anyone have questions on these?
No.
Policy 6200 comes in many parts. It's the program for the students with disabilities under the IDEA. So they've given us an updated copy. It's in line, excuse me, in line with NISBA's sample policy.
Back up a second.
Okay, I'm backing up to where?
165, administrative reg.
Uh-huh.
Did these say parent or guardian? They sound official.
I think it could probably say parent or guardian, or parent or parental person with, what was it? Persons in parental relationship. Is the proper term. So we'll change that to say so. Right.
I think if you want to make it clear, that would be fine.
Sorry, I'm ready. Back to 6200. Again, the main policy, 6200, is now in line with NISBA sample policy. Does anybody have questions on that? Then we move on to, hold on, gotta get to it. 6200.1, which is a provision for a least restricted environment, which the attorneys say is legally sufficient as we have written. So if nobody has objections or questions on that one. That being said, I'm gonna move forward on 6200.2, which is school-wide pre-referral approaches and interventions. They suggested a few revisions. You can see it in the red line copy. They just there were a few crossouts on words. There was a couple of changes on grammar and punctuation, and otherwise it was okay. Does anybody have any questions on that? Taking out the word New York State, it was adding a capital where there wasn't one. Okay with that one? 6200-3, again, have made some suggested revisions that the board is considering now. Again, you can see in bullet point 4, there's some word changes. Excuse me. And a few words removed. Are there any questions on that part?
So what the question was just basically repeating itself.
It's
That's why we
which
took
one are
out
we
that
talking
one,
about? I'm sorry.
number 4. 62.
Well, yes, because it's essentially all qualified personnel.
Right, so it's basically the 2 lines, the one we took out is basically repeating what it says in like.
Right. 6200.4, availability of alternative format instructional materials for students with disabilities. Again, there are a few revisions that you can see in this one. If you have any questions on this, let me know. And 6200-0.5 is district-wide, statewide assessments of students with disabilities. This is in regard to them getting accommodations and stuff like that. there was just a few little format changes and a few revisions. You should have, clean copy of that same. Go with both of those. Be picking you up.
Love these policies.
My question.
6200.6 for an impartial hearing officer appointment and compensation. You'll see at the bottom the added language. There's a few changes at the top and then some added language at the bottom to keep us consistent with the commissioner's regulations. Um, 6200 dash, 0.7, I'm liking dashes today, I'm a lot. Public report on revisions to district policy practices, procedures, and findings of significance and proportionality is legally sufficient as written. So we're just reaffirming that as well. 6200 dash, 0.8. You know, but you'll see there's just a few changes as far as the references and some revisions that the committees had recommended. $6,200.9 special education personnel. There's you can see that the bullets changed and there's been additions in regard to what we're looking for. These steps, but not limited to. And 6200.10 for allocation of space for special ed programs. Again, there were some suggested revisions. And the remainder of that policy is legally sufficient as written for the attorneys. Policy 8230 for reimbursement of expenses. We've incorporated the previous suggested revisions into this policy. And so at this point, it's legally sufficient as written to be amended. To be reaffirmed, I should say, this time around. So as long as everybody is okay with that policy, we will leave it as such. And no, you can't go to PDF.
It will be paid.
Yeah.
I don't understand. They can pay you for things regarding attendance at PK college. They don't, that's never been the case.
No, this is the same conversation that we had last year. If you recall, there was an issue about what we could get paid to attend and what we couldn't get paid to attend.
We have that.
And we said,
Like every.
right, and the issue was, no, we could not get paid to attend like the scholarship dinner unless we can get paid for, if I'm not mistaken, we can get paid for if we're going as a representative of the board to present an award or something.
Or if
But
you're
we,
receiving it.
or if we're going to receive an award, in which case they usually pay for us anyway, because we're the recipient of an award. But we cannot get paid for by the school district to attend any of these award dinners, like, so.
What if, like, say at the scholarship dinner, you're presenting one of the scholarships?
Then, well, usually the
If
scholarship
if you were the
committee pays for it
representative
anyway.
of the school district and you're presenting that scholarship to the student.
Right, and the one year that I actually presented at the scholarship dinner, the scholarship committee paid
No, they
It
always
was-
do,
yeah.
but if they knew they didn't have to.
Right.
They could get the money from the district,
Well, they can't, but they can pay for us to go. Yeah, it's the same difference.
same difference.
But like, what was I just
Guys
saying?
all present it.
When we go to, the top 25 dinner, we can get paid for because PTA is paying for us to go. Like the PTAs pay for us to go to the top 25 dinner, not the school
Right.
district. It's donated by the PTAs for us to attend. So that's why that goes that way.
We're confused. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't, it is confusing in this case, but it should maybe be clearer. I mean, I think as long as we know what we're talking about, but I don't know how to word it to make it clearer that for some, one day we're not gonna be here to explain it.
Required. You put the word.
No, because we're not required to present at any of this stuff. If somebody asks you to present and you don't want to present, you don't have to present. Like somebody might not want to do that.
Approved by the president.
Everything's approved. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe there's a different way to word it. Maybe you should.
If the board feels that they want to clarify it in any way, but that's generally how the controller has.
As written it.
Has written in terms of that specific language that if you're attending a community event that will assist them in fulfilling their responsibilities as elected officials. That's the language from controller opinions, and that opinion, when you've asked me that question, well, what does that mean? That specifically means if the entire board goes to the event and you're just there as a guest, you're not permitted to get reimbursed for that. But if you are the person who is performing in an official capacity as a school district official, then so if you're presenting the award to somebody receiving the award, that's something the controller says. So
So you're being reimbursed for your travel, or you're being paid a per diem amount to go?
you're paying for the events.
No, it's the dinner. Like, so when we go to
Right.
school functions, like, the scholarship dinner, which is a community event, we pay $65. Any of these events that we attend, we have to pay out of pocket for.
Registration, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. And unless I was presenting an award to somebody,
You
I would still
reimburse
have to
that
pay out of pocket. But if I was presenting the award, the district could pay for me to go.
fee.
There are limited circumstances where the district will actually reimburse the board. The standard from the controller is whether you're actually appearing official capacity.
So we're good. We're all understood.
Yeah.
So we'll leave as follows. So we're gonna move all these policies to be voted on. These go back on December 13th, at this December 13th meeting. And at this time, I will ask if there's any questions from the audience on any of these policies. Our giant audience. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. And at this time, I need a motion to adjourn.
Almost.
Second.
All in favor?